It's a big deal. It's a big deal for me to be here and having a book in freaking Holland, translated into Dutch. It's about all these 5 characters, and they're remembering the day they were forced to leave their place of birth, basically. Under the Group Areas Act of the apartheid system, the government had the authority to tell people where to live or if they had to leave a place, so they can decide sort of almost randomly that this place was now a whites-only area. Verte. Daar's 'n verte in jou oë. 'n huis, paleis, pondokvark ook, waar ek heen gaan. Ek word roetstil, 'n weerligstraal, 'n wentelbaan, 'n sekelmaan. Jy, vreemde dier met katoe, vat my saam. Neem my na 'n plek met rondom talies en waar warm solitair is. 'n plek wat pas, 'n plek vir my stok en hoed.
I have a cartoon strip that appears on a weekly basis on Fridays, one of the national newspapers. So every week, no matter where I am in the world, I have a deadline for this strip.
Back home already, we started working on a project, a graphic novel that will be based on the characters from Santagram, but the characters will be kids.
I thought it would be a good idea to illustrate the poems, because I thought the writing was very dense and was very sort of cryptic. It gives some of the clues for the reader, sort of, so you can put a picture together.
In Santagram, all the characters have a very specific voice, so it's very easy for me to write about them because they are, I almost feel like they are, real people that I can just write about. We come here to do research for the graphic novel. Lots of old books, old documentation, and so yeah, this is the place where you'll find anything and everything about South Africa. Every book written in Afrikaans, you'll find it in this library. I think at the moment we're looking for diaries of Jan van Riebeeck or biographies about the history, about colonialism, and he's one of the characters in the book. And just to add more depth to the character and not just tell the story that, we all know. I started getting interested in storytelling and in reading while I was very young. I spent my childhood on a farm in the rural areas with my grandparents. I learned to write by listening to my grandfather. He was a big storyteller, and I would sit for hours in his company and just listen to all the stories about, him growing up and worlds that I didn't know. And then we moved to the suburbs with my parents, and then for some reason we moved to a township, which is very sort of gangs and violence and things like that. And I was in school with my cousins, so we would always compete, and I realized that I could always win our little competition if I wrote something. And because I was this farm girl with my funny accent, I made that my thing, my comfort zone or whatever, my happy place. In high school, I started reading poetry, and I found it very interesting, but I never thought that I would be able to write poetry because it was just so difficult. I think things finally changed when I was going to college, and a friend of mine, he said there's this competition for young poets, and that's sort of my first attempt at writing poetry. Then a few months later, the main publisher in South Africa phoned me and said I should, congratulations, you're one of the poets chosen to be part of this anthology. And I'm like, The prize was to attend a workshop by Antjie Krog, who's an amazing poet. She can see my potential and I should continue writing. And that was really big for me. When I went home after the workshop, I started working on my first book. And I decided that I wasn't going to write the way I was supposed to write. And by writing something, that my mother could understand who didn't go to school, or my sister who could understand who only listened to the Spice Girls, and also Ankie Krog could understand. Die zwaarste voor mij was niet dat mijn opa dood was, nee. Maar dat die aarde aan het draait, dat ik aan het leef heb, dat alles wat verkeerd was nog steeds verkeerd is. I mainly write to honor people because I was born in a time where I had all the opportunities and they didn't, and there's a reason for them being the way they were and their lives turning out the way it did. My way of honoring that is to write about it, to write about their lives, to write their stories. Ik wil daar in een huil. Ik wil zijn leeftijd uithuil. Ik wil huil voor wie hij was en voor wie hij kon wees. Ik wil huil oor die onrechtvaardigheid. En ik wil huil omdat hij rechtig lief was voor mij. En omdat ik geweten heb dat hij lief was voor mij.